Howdy folks, it's Tom from the gaming channel and welcome to a video response slash update video. A lot of you guys have been asking me about how the printer is running and to show you guys some of the prints that I've done, and I thought I'd take the opportunity to do that in this video. I also want to talk about some of the problems and solutions that I've run into with the printer, and then at the end I will show you guys the new setup for the printer, because as you may have noticed, we're in a room you guys haven't seen before. This is kind of my man cave slash makerspace, whatever you want to call it. My nice workbench here behind me that I do pretty much anything and everything on, anything that needs doing. So as for the printer, like I said, we're in a different location. Originally when I got the printer, I set it up with our main gaming rig in the office. And that's the rig that we do all of our Let's Plays, we do our audio recording, we do all of our editing on that machine. And I quickly realized that I was leery to do anything, recording, editing, anything on that machine while the printer is running, because as you guys noticed from the last video, I'm sure the shortest print that I've done has been an hour and a half long. So I really didn't want to risk trying to do some recording and then having the system crash from being overloaded and lose not only the Let's Play video and audio, but the print as well. So I've set the printer up on an old laptop. It's not by any means a new or even powerful laptop. It's just an old e-machine that's about 4 years old at this point, I think. But luckily it's got enough power to run both the 3D printer and the webcam app that I use to do the time-lapse videos. So I can run both of those off this one machine, and it lets me take the printer kind of mobile so I can move it if I have to. So yeah, I've moved that back here, but like I said, I'm going to show you guys the setup for that in a bit, but I want to start off by showing you guys some of the prints that I've done. Unfortunately, the majority of my prints are right here. You can see that. This is all of the failures. I've had raft bits that have completely torn themselves apart. Just prints that... Actually, I think that's a part from a successful print, actually, that I didn't need. Yeah, so completely failed prints that snapped in half. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the majority of them. Some of the successful ones I've done, I want to show you guys this one first because you guys saw him printed in the last video, but before he even came off the printer, my kids were bugging me to paint him. And I figured, why not? So I wanted to show you guys Squirtle, all painted up. Nice paint job on him. Not a professional paint job, obviously, but he's pretty good. And I realized in the last video, I forgot to tell you guys why I chose to print Squirtle when I could have printed, you know, virtually anything else. The reason being is because I'm a kid of the 90s. That's, you know, when I was a kid, and obviously Pokemon came out in 1996. The reason Squirtle holds a special place for me is that Pokemon Blue and the Game Boy Color were not only the first system, but the first game that I bought with my own money. I earned the money, I spent it on the system that I wanted and the game that I wanted. I chose Blue because a friend that lived just down the street had Red, and we figured we could trade back and forth and get all the Pokemon that way. And of course, me having Blue, I didn't really know anything about Pokemon at the time. Blastoise is on the cover. He comes from Squirtle, so I chose Squirtle. But it worked out in my favor because, as you guys are aware, I'm sure, the first trainer you go up against in Red and Blue is Brock. So having a water Pokemon on your team obviously makes that a very, very easy fight. So yeah, that's why I chose Squirtle. And I'm probably going to sit him... I don't know, I might sit him back here somewhere on the workbench. I might sit him on the desk in the office for when we're recording. Not sure yet. But that's him. I like him. I'm going to put a clear, not a clear, like a gloss coat on him to protect him. But other than that, yeah, that's him. He's pretty much done. The rest of the printing that I have been done on the printer is not video game related. One of my other hobbies is tabletop role-playing and wargaming terrain. I don't actually play any war games, but I do like the terrain, and the scale of the terrain matches up really well with tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, Dragon Age, and stuff like that. So the prints that I have done with those, scenery specific prints anyway, have been 2 gate portcullises. I'm printing a total of 4 of these for a tower that I'm kind of making, a tower crypt kind of thing. I've seen these made out of like cardboard and barbecue kebab skewer kind of things. I tried one of those and it turned out really, really terrible. So I figured I'd 3D print them, make it easier, and it takes a little bit of time, but they came out really well. These 2 are actually a little oversized, so I may save them for another project and print 4 out of at like 75% height and width. So the other terrain item that I printed just as a test is a barrel. I don't know if you guys can see that because of the camera not wanting to focus. But yeah, just a little barrel. Again, something that can be made out of like cardboard and glue and stuff, but I've never seen it done really well, so I figured 3D printing would be a little bit easier. The other thing that I've done is miniatures. If you are a fan of like miniature wargaming and stuff like that, the miniatures that you get for companies like Games Workshop, Reaper, they're all really, really awesome. They're really high detail, but they're injection molded. So somebody actually has to carve that little sculpture for them to make a mold. So I didn't expect anything, especially anything I 3D printed. If there's a 3D printer on the market that will print miniatures at that resolution and that high quality, chances are good I can't afford it. But it would be really awesome. So I printed 2. I printed this guy. He's kind of a golem-y kind of guy. I just stuck him on a little wooden circle base thing that I got out of like a box of these things at Walmart. But he's pretty simple. He's all kind of smooth surfaces, no real features of a face or anything like that, because he's kind of a golem. And he turned out pretty good. If you guys, I don't know if you guys can see that, but even his hands turned out really nice. This is the other miniature that I printed, and this one I have to admit I'm not really proud of. I don't know if it's the model, or the model file, I mean, or the printer itself, but for some reason, this is supposed to be a drow priestess. If you guys are familiar with any of the D&D games out there, be they board games, RPG games, video games, whatever, she's a drow priestess. They're supposed to be they're like elves. They're supposed to be elegant and you know, beautiful and everything. And she just turned out really lumpy. And you guys may notice she's missing a finger there. When I was removing the support material, her pinky came off with it. So not a great print, but again, that could have been either the file or the printer. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just not capable of doing the resolution that it needs to be able to print something like this at a really, really high quality. But really the only other successful thing that I've gotten off the printer is, whoop, I dropped it. Yeah. Is this little thing. This is a filament guide clip. It clips onto the extruder hose for the printer, and the filament is fed through this little loop, and it just keeps it from getting tangled. I'm not using it at the moment because I didn't want to bother pulling the filament out and reinstalling it. Once the like third of a roll of the M3D filament is gone, I'll use this when I load the new filament into it. But for now, you know, unfortunately those 8 things are unfortunately the only successes that have come off the printer so far. I showed you guys obviously the failures, and I guess that's a good way to transition into kind of what I've learned about the printer since I've had it set up and running. I got the printer 2 weeks ago today. It was a few days before you guys saw the first video, and it's been running not non-stop, but it's been running quite a lot. There's been a few nights where it's set idle, or but again, a lot of it has not worked out well. I'm not saying that the printer is bad. In fact, I want to address a specific comment that I got on the last video, and I'll probably put that like right underneath my chin here so you guys can see that. The commenter mentioned that a lot of people were having problems with this printer, and that there were 2 other printers that he mentioned specifically that were relatively the same price and were better. And I'm not going to argue with him because I don't know those printers. I've heard good things about them, but I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to weigh in on a verdict there. However, I can tell you that one of them in particular, I believe it's the Wanhao Duplicator i3, is actually currently the same price as the M3D Micro that I have. And it's got a bigger build volume. It's an 8-inch cube, I believe, because everything is in millimeters, so I'm not entirely sure. I believe it's 8 by 8 by 8. In addition, it's also got a heated bed, which is a big plus. However, it's also, because it's got such a big build volume, it's much bigger. It's also made out of steel. It's really heavy. And we live in Canada. I'm originally from the States, but I live here in Canada. And whenever we buy something like this, we have to take into account where it's coming from, how much the shipping cost is, and we also have to take into account that anything electronic coming across the border has a duty charge on it. So that's one of the reasons that I went with this particular printer, is because it's very small, it's very lightweight, it's something that I could sit on my desktop and have be very quiet, and it's very light. You could literally take this thing and put it in a carry-on and take it on an airplane. I have no doubt you'd get the shit tased out of you by the TSA, but it is an option if you wanted to try it. Please, for the love of God, don't try it. Seriously. And if you do, don't mention me at all. But no, it is small, it is light. And because of that, the shipping to get it from, I believe it came from Maryland, to get it from Maryland to here was about half the cost of the shipping cost for the Duplicator i3. Duplicator i3 is about $150 shipping alone, not including the price of the printer, which you have to take into account is in US. We then have to convert to Canadian because the Canadian dollar is not as strong at the moment. So just the cost of the printer alone is probably closer to $400, $425 for me, plus $150 shipping. Again, converted to Canadian from American, and then the duty cost to get it across the border. So unfortunately, in my instance, that printer is a lot more expensive than this one was. This one, all in all, probably cost about $450 total. That's the printer, the filament, the shipping, the duty, all of it. The i3 would probably cost me closer to $650 for the printer, the shipping, the duty, all of it. However, I'm not saying I'm not considering that option, because I actually have a friend who recently started working in the printer 3D printing industry. He's mentioned the company that he works for actually does trade-ins. So I am considering maybe in the future trading the little guy in for maybe something with a bigger build volume and a heated bed. But if you live in the States and you're interested in 3D printing, those printers are not a bad option. For an 8x8x8 cube build area and a heated bed, the Duplicator i3 is a good machine, especially seeing as if you're in the States, you get free shipping. So literally the $350, obviously plus tax from where you live, and you have the printer. That's a really good price. But again, because we're in Canada, that's one of the reasons I went with the little guy. Again, one of the reasons I mentioned was noise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just disappear off camera for a second. I'm going to manually start the fan on the printer, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little more, and you guys can kind of hear the printer running on the video and show you just how quiet this thing really is. Alright, so there we go. The fan is now running. I hope you guys can hear it. I'm sure you guys probably can. But even then, it's not loud. It's not an overpowering sound. So depending on how well it's picked up on camera, we'll see if it works to sit on the desktop and run while we're doing other videos and stuff. So now I'm going to kind of talk about what I've learned with this printer. And the first thing I've learned over anything else is that the current version of the software that comes not pre-installed, you have to download it and install it. The default software that comes with this printer is garbage. Absolute garbage. The program, when you install the program on your desktop, it even says in the title that it is a beta version. I hope they improve it, because right now it is absolutely useless. The current version of the software is completely and utterly useless because it won't even recognize the printer. I installed it on both the main machine and on the laptop, and when I plug in the printer and turn it on, the software just sits and stares at me like I'm an idiot because it doesn't detect the software. You have to downgrade one step to the previous version of the software to even get it to recognize that the printer's plugged in and hooked up to the machine. The software, I kind of think I understand where they were going with the design of the software. It really kind of looks meant for someone who maybe just walked in off the street and doesn't really know anything about 3D printers, maybe not even anything about computers, to just print something. It's very stripped down, it's got very few options, and I think that's so that it's not intimidating to new users. The only option you have for support material is the raft and support where overhanging support. So there's no brim, there's no skirt option, nothing like that. So again, the software that comes box standard with the printer is garbage. I found a way to use a much more robust program called Cura with this printer. So I've been using that, and since I started using that, I've had a lot more success. I didn't really want to say a lot more, but it's true. I have had a lot more success. In fact, I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, more than half of the stuff that I've printed that's actually come out successful has been using Cura. And I am considering doing a short tutorial on using Cura with the M3D as a later video. But yeah, the software is software is garbage. Don't go with the software. I can't repeat that enough. Don't go with the software. It's garbage. But yeah, all in all, I don't feel it's a bad printer. Like I said, I know people have had problems with this printer. I have not really had the specific problems that they've had. The one major problem that I was aware of was that people were having problems with stuff sticking to the build plate and having to pry it loose and often breaking it in the process. I haven't had that problem at all. Since I switched from using a raft to what's called brim printing, I've actually had the problem of I have kind of had the problem of the print sticking to the painter's tape. In fact, on this guy, I will kind of show you, there is painter's tape still stuck to him. and I'm probably going to take like a file or something to get that off, or because this is meant to be lay flat against like a foam building or something, I probably won't even bother, to be honest, because you'll never see it. But oh, fan just shut off on its own. Okay, so we'll see how that sounded on the video. But yeah, as for the actual printing surface itself, I have learned that really flat objects that have like a really large raft, if I'm trying to print multiple flat objects, I am having problems with those because when the layers cool, they tend to warp, and the painter's tape doesn't really help with that, because I think the build plate is covered in a surface called build tack, and it seems to be very non-stick, like almost like the coating on the Teflon coating on like a non-stick pan or something, because the tape will just pull right off. The one print that I tried to do without the builder's tape, straight on the build tack surface, actually only printed like 4 layers of the raft itself before I guess the plastic cooled enough that it wouldn't adhere to the surface anymore, and it just sheared free and just followed the print head around the print surface. So, like I said, I don't know if they've changed that surface since I heard about those issues. If maybe that was a problem with the Kickstarter shipments and this is now the actual production run, or what. But that particular problem I haven't had. I've had the opposite problem of stuff not wanting to stick, and anyway. So, you know, again, this is a Kickstarted project. It's possible there's problems that the guys who created it didn't realize when they Kickstarted it, and they fixed those now that they're doing the production run. But it's also one of those things where it's a 3D printer. It's a newer technology. There's gonna be bugs no matter what printer you have. There's gonna be problems. Obviously, with the more expensive, more high-end printers, you're going to have fewer problems because they've invested a large amount of capital to kind of solve those problems ahead of time. Whereas this seems like a very small company that's put out a product and are kind of learning as they go. And I hope that's the case, because there are some problems here that really, really need to be fixed. Again, software, garbage. Fix it, please. But the machine itself is not bad. So I'm not disappointed with this machine. I kind of understood going into it. That first small roll of filament, the ½ kilogram roll that I bought from the company, I pretty much wrote that off when I purchased the printer. I kind of knew that I was going to have to learn how the printer reacted, how the filament reacted, what I could and couldn't do with it. So I kind of wrote that off. The filament that I showed you guys the last time, I went ahead and I grabbed a couple more rolls of it. I specifically grabbed an orange and a white roll so that we can have the gaming channel colors. I've got a project in mind for that one that I'm really looking forward to doing for you guys. But those are going to be my main filaments to do the actual projects with. This is more kind of a test of how the printer is gonna run, how the filament reacts, all of that. And I'm definitely learning a lot from using that. So, like I said, all in all, I'm not disappointed with the printer. Would I go with it again? Yes, because again, this was meant to be, you know, the first step into 3D printing. Will this be the only 3D printer I ever own and I'll never buy another one? No. That's not the case. I definitely want to get a bigger printer. I want to get one with a heated bed, because that opens up more options, more filaments that I can use, more, you know, intricate designs, stuff like that. This is just a test, really. So I hope you guys are enjoying the build videos. Well, you guys have only seen one so far. There will be more to come, I promise. I hope you guys enjoy them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the last video where you guys watched me unbox and set up the printer. So, for now, I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around, show you guys the printer and the new setup and talk about it a little bit, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Alright guys, so this is the new setup that we've got for the 3D printer. You guys can see this is the laptop here that I was talking about. It's about a 4-year-old e-machine. Certainly not it wasn't a powerful computer when I bought it. It's just kind of a run-of-the-mill laptop. And like I said, it's about 4 years old. At one point I thought it had actually died, but I managed to reinstall Windows on it, and it's been working fairly well ever since. And it's managed to run the 3D printer and the webcam software for about a week now without having to reboot. So obviously it's got a little more life in it than I thought it did. Over here we have the printer itself, obviously. I have a little Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, or no. Is it Link to the Past? Yes, it's Link to the Past, sorry. Link to the Past mouse pad there just for decoration. This is an offcut of plywood that I just have clipped to pan down a little bit to show you guys the gorilla shelf here that I have. And it's just held on with a couple of clips. That's where I put the webcam. It sits just kind of right there like that. Have a little mark so I can line it up to point directly at the print bed. Usually that's sitting there, but I've got it hooked up to the main machine right now because Gabe was recording some face cam footage earlier for one of his games that he's recording. We have over to the left here we have the filaments. Like I said, they're all from the same company, MG Chemicals, I believe. We have the orange. I want to say orange, white, and the green is in the back there. I have the materials I've already bought to do a nice PVC spool holder that I'll probably bring you guys a build video of, where all 3 of those filaments are going to sit there on the spool ready to go. When one runs out, I'll pop it off the end, move the other one down, feed it into the printer, and just keep going. The current spool holder solution that I have is this kind of, ignore the wings up there, those are not mine, those are my wife's from years ago. This is kind of the ghetto spool holder number 2 idea that I came up with. These are just a couple of really cheap shelf brackets that I've had for 6 years, 5-6 years, something like that. I stuck them at the end of a bench vise and just bent the ends here so this old curtain rod wouldn't fall off. And then I've only got the 1 roll of filament on it right now because I was planning to build the bigger PVC version up here right now. Like I said, there's only about a third or a quarter of that left. Figured I'd throw a roll of paper towels up there just because never know when you need paper towels. And yeah, so that's kind of ghetto spool holder number 2. But yeah, this is the current 3D printer setup. It's not a bad setup. Like I said, having it back here in my makerspace man cave kind of thing, it makes it a lot easier because I can leave it running 24/7. It doesn't bother anybody. We can do our Let's Plays and stuff without worrying about getting the sound of the fan on the recording. I would like to move it back into that room and let it run during a test record and see if maybe Audacity can even filter most of that out. If it can. I may try to move it back in there to do actual live streams, because this system, while it is powerful enough to run the 3D printer software and the webcam time-lapse software that I'm using, it unfortunately is not powerful enough to do both of those things and run OBS at the same time. I get about 7 frames per second doing it that way. So unfortunately it makes the stream completely unwatchable. If I can filter most of the sound of the fan out, then I will try to move it into the actual recording area, and then maybe try to set up some type of extension cord for the like a USB extension for the webcam, so that I can do some live streaming of prints. So yeah, that's the setup for now, and it may change, and if it does, I will probably show you guys in another update video or something like that. So, well, there it is, guys. Those are my prints that I've done so far, my printer setup, and my thoughts on the M3D micro printer. Like I said, I don't feel that, I certainly don't feel that it was a waste of money or anything, even just for the fact that it's a learning experience. Even if the only thing it really teaches me is that I need certain features in a printer later on down the road, I still think it is definitely worth it. So I'm happy with the printer so far. I haven't run into anything that has been a real problem, so I'm definitely going to keep it and keep using it. But yeah, so that's it so far, guys. If you guys want to see more 3D prints, I want to kind of stick to video game related prints on the channel, but if you guys want to see just whatever I'm printing, regardless of what it is, let me know. Leave me a comment, you know, send me a tweet, you know, say something on the Facebook page. Let me know, and I'll start doing time-lapse videos of those. Maybe just putting, you know, the time-lapse videos uploaded whenever I have them or something. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you guys answer some of your guys' questions, and, you know, lets you guys see what I'm working on. I hope in the near future to be bringing you guys a few more videos from this area. At least one. I've got one big one in mind, that the build video for the spool holder, because I'm really looking forward to doing that. But anyway, if you guys liked it, smack that like button, leave us a comment, share the video, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, we're on Instagram. There's lots of ways for you guys to reach us. So we hope you guys will reach out and let us know what you think. And remember, till next time, we'll see y'all later.